Friends, welcome. Today I am going to talk on a topic which has been a point of discussion among the scholars since many years in Vedic astrology. Today also people were giving opinion on this topic, and the topic is as to which house should be referred to for the matters related to father. There is a difference of opinion in Vedic astrology among the scholars because few feel that it should be the 10th house. The other groups feel it should be the ninth house. Those who are in support of 10th house give the logic that fourth house is the house of mother, and the seventh house reckoned from there, that is 10th house, will represent the husband of the mother. Therefore, the father of the native should be studied from the 10th house. The other group who support ninth house produce the logic that fifth house denotes the offsprings, the progenies. Lagna represents the self of the native. So Lagna will be the progeny of the house from where it is reckoned fifth from. That is ninth house. Because from ninth house, Lagna is counted as fifth house. So Lagna is the progeny of the ninth house. Therefore, matters related to the father of the native should be studied from the ninth house. Both the groups have their own sound logic. But I discard both of the logics because this is not the way how significations of the house have been determined in Vedic astrology. If we take the path of the logic that I have just spoken about these two houses, then one can also reduce the logic that fourth house is the house of mother. So the fifth house counted therefrom, that is the eighth house of the chart, should represent the progenies of the mother. So can we study the matters related to the cohorts from the eighth house? No, although this logic apparently seems sound. The question is that before applying our own logic, we should also refer to the books, the standard classical texts, as to what do they show. Because logics are being given by the people, as I have seen from my own experience, that the people who are taking these lines are mostly those who have not gone through the standard classical texts in detail. They have just made their entry into astrology by studying through techniques, systems, shortcut methods for making predictions, and they feel confident that they have understood everything and know all about Vedic astrology. Because of this condition of the scholars in India, our friends abroad have also taken the liberty of twisting our texts as per their own wish and will. That is another unfortunate development taking place rapidly. And if one is vigilant, he can see it in different forums, in different representations, in different essays, in different write ups on social media. Some of the scholars in India say that it is the difference of opinion among the scholars of South India and among the scholars of the North India. They want to establish the fact by telling that North Indian scholars normally refer to 10th house as the house of father, whereas the scholars from the South India take ninth house as the house of father. My point is that how this difference of opinion really emerged. Scholars of North India who normally refer to BPHS or Brihad Parashar Hora Shastram quote the significations of the 10th house given in that book. Let me tell you here that despite all the criticism, remarks, derogatory remarks, and the attempts of making lark of it, Brihad Parashar Hora Shastram is still viewed as a standard, authentic, and valuable text of Vedic astrology. When we don't read the book thoroughly, we are bound to commit mistakes. That is not unusual. And I am going to explain this in this discussion. The Brihad Parashar Hora Shastram, in its chapter 12, I am referring to a commentary by Sitaram Jha. The title of the chapter is Bhav Vivekadhyay, and in 11th aphorism, it reads as Rajyang cha akasang vritting cha manang cha pitustatha pravasasya rinasyapi vyom asthanang nirikchinam. Among the various other things counted here as the significations of the 10th house, father has also been included. The word used is pitustatha. Pitu means father. So there is no confusion that here this text is telling that father is a signification of the 10th house. But is it so? Does this book really say so? Can we afford to be governed by this aphorism? No, because a critical study of this very text, Brihad Parashar Hora Shastram, tells us that this book has not taken 10th house for the father. I will quote the sentence afterwards. Here I am telling, I will quote the aphorism, but here I want to tell that this word pitus tatha seems to have been tempered, and in my most considered opinion, the actual term should have been pitris tatha, राज्यं च आकाशं च वृत्तिं च मानं चैव पितृस्तथा instead of pitusthatha. And when we replace the pitu with the pitra, the meaning changes. Though one of the meaning of pitra can be taken as father also, but pitri in itself includes too many things other than father also. So the point is that can we take 10th house as house of father on the basis of this indication as given in this aphorism of the BPHS? Is BPHS really supporting this view? That has to be seen very critically. Because there are other slokas in this book itself, where contrary things have been told. If we refer to the eighth chapter of this book, then we come across with an aphorism number 39, which tells that ninth house is the house of father. The same BPHS, Brihad Parashar Hora Shastram, is telling in this aphorism that ninth house is the house of father. This 39 aphorism tells नवमे 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 पितुर्ज्ञानम सूर्याच्च नवमेत्थवा नवमे पितुर्ज्ञानम, the things concerned to father should be seen from the ninth house. Very clearly here, this text itself tells that ninth house is the house of father, and it is in the eighth chapter. Further, it is telling Surya cha Nammathava, and also the ninth house counted from the location of the sun would also show the attributes related to father. Now, what is this ninth house from sun? As I have been telling repeatedly to the friends, that there are fundamental principles in Vedic astrology for locating the vibrations related to various factors of life. So, the significations given with the houses do vary and shift to other houses when these principles are applied for better comprehension of the subject. These principles are Bhavat Bhavam, Bhaveshat Bhavam, Karkat Bhavam, Vargat Vargam, and Chakrat Chakram. Here in this aphorism, the text is referring to the principle of Karakat Bhavam also here for locating the house of father. That is Surya Chandramathava, ninth house from the sun. There is a method, as in Bhavat Bhavam, we find house to house reckoning. So, there is another method, that is Karkat Bhavam, that is reckoning is made from the significator. That's why in Vedic astrology, we also see the prospects of progeny from the fifth house counted from Jupiter, or things related to wife from the seventh house counted from Venus, because Jupiter is the significator of progeny and Venus is the significator of wife. Similarly, Sun is the significator of father. And when it suggests that ninth house reckoned from the location of Sun should be seen for matters related to father, it clearly tells that ninth house is the house of father. That's why I say that the earlier aphorism that I have referred to, that is Rajyang cha Akasang cha Manang cha Rajyang cha Akasang cha Vritting cha Manang chevi pitustatha, that very word pitu has been tempered there. Because here in this aphorism, Navame piturgyanam suryacha namyathava, not only very clearly the author is stressing that ninth house is the house of father. The house is also applied in the second principle of Karakat Bhavam, and then it is suggesting that ninth house reckoned from sun should also be studied for the matters related to father. Again, in the next chapter, not next, rather 10th chapter, we find an aphorism in this very text which suggests something very interesting. It says, सप्तमे भवने सूर्य कर्मस्थो भूमिनंदन राहुर्व्यये च यस्येव पिता कष्टेन जीवति. The father of the native who has sun in the seventh house, Mars in the 10th house, and Rahu in the 12th house lives a difficult, hassled, and troublesome life. Pita kashtena jivati, the father of the natives, lives a troubled life. Now, let us try to understand this aphorism in the light of the probabilities of taking the father from the ninth house or from the 10th house. For understanding this aphorism, if we take 10th house as the house of father, then the location of the planet will be Mars in the Lagna of the father, Rahu in the third house of the father, and Sun in the 10th house of the father. Mars in the Lagna of the father may make him short tempered or infuse some other weak qualities in his personality. But the Rahu in the third house will definitely play to enrich or increase his prowess, because as we know that malefic planets in the third house work more effectively. Similarly, the sun in the 10th house would tend to give a good profession along with respect and position. If the man has prowess, has good profession, is commanding respect in his circle, how can it be said that he is living a troubled life? Now, let us try to understand this aphorism by taking ninth house as the house of father. If we take the ninth house as the house of father, the location of these planets will be Mars in the second house of the father, Rahu in the fourth house of the father, and Sun in the 11th house of the father. Now, Mars in the second house may create problem in accumulation of wealth or may not. But Rahu in the fourth house would definitely diminish the comforts of the father. Rahu is here in 12th house of the native, and counted from the ninth house, Rahu becomes in fourth house from the father. That means the father's comfort will be disturbed. Similarly, the sun in the 11th house may work for accrual of gains, but as we know, the 11th house, apart from the gains, has everything that is bad, that is troublesome, that is virulent, that is for creating problems in the life. So, from here also we find that this aphorism is more befitting for its stated results if we take ninth house as the house of the father. Similarly, there are other aphorisms in this book itself, which, when we read very carefully and critically, find that ninth house has been taken in the center while stating the effects of those aphorisms as the house of the father. From chapter 22 of this book, where the effects of the 10th house have been dealt, we have an aphorism सबले कर्म भावे से स्वच्छे स्वांशे स्वराशिगे जातस्तात सुखे नाढ्यो यशस्वी शुभ कर्म कृत. If the tenth house or lord of the tenth house of the native is strong, exalted in its own Navamsa or in auspicious Vaisheshik Navamsa or in its own sign, the native will enjoy the comforts of the father, and he would do too many good things, earning applaud from the public. Here, the tenth house, or rather, the strength of the tenth house has been stressed upon, which happens to be the house of wealth for the father. A son can really enjoy the comforts of his father when his father is financially well off. Clearly, here also, ninth house has been considered as the house of father. If we go and study the effects of the ninth house given in the previous chapter 21, we find so many aphorisms related to the difficult time, death, and disease of the father. The fact that these things have been discussed, these things related to father have been discussed in the effects of the ninth house clearly shows that this book considers only ninth house as the house of the father. I am really surprised that scholars, instead of going into deeper side or making a thorough study of the text, they jump over the conclusion from the single line of an aphorism, that is Rajyang cha akasang cha vritting cha manang cha vipitus, and they start sorting that tenth house is the house of father, which is not a wiseful conclusion. But unfortunately, as I told earlier, most of the scholars today playing in media have made into Vedic astrology through different techniques, systems, shortcut methods, a short course. They care not go through the books. They consider it a wastage of time, and because of their bellicose, a message is going outside that Vedic astrology is a bundle of confusions. And some recently incarnated sages of Vedic astrology give foolish explanations. One of the explanation I came across with in one of the group, some gentleman commented that tenth house represents the man with whom the mother of the native is married, but ninth house represents the man from which the mother conceived the native. How sad, how pathetic, how shameful making such conclusions just to create an individuality, just to give an impression that they are a scholar and can give some unique explanation. The biological father and the father on record. How shameful, really. When I go into all these things, I feel filled with very piquant opinion about modern scholars, which I am expressing here, perhaps in pungent terms. But the fact is that modern astrologers are disinclined to go through the books. They want to have everything through group discussions in social media. Neither they want to go through the book nor do they want to understand the book. They seldom ruminate over the aphorisms that has been given in the books. They don't know what is the underlying principle for formulation of those combinations. But still, they claim to be a scholar, and the advantage of this situation is being taken from outsiders also, and that is the most unfortunate thing. I will keep on speaking on such controversial topics from time to time. Thank you.